The transport ship docked at 9 station with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure, gathered her equipment bag and waited for the airlock to cycle through. She had been to dozens of stations across the galaxy, but this one was different. This one was famous. 9 hosted the combat arena where species from 12 sectors came to prove themselves. Warriors fought here. Champions were made here. Was not here to fight. She was here to assess security protocols for the human diplomatic mission. A boring job, but it paid well. The airlock opened and stepped into a corridor filled with aliens. A massive creature with 6 legs and crystal skin walked past her. 2 floating beings that looked like jellyfish drifted overhead. She had grown used to being surrounded by things that were not human. Earth had joined the galactic community only 15 years ago. Humans were still the newcomers, the curiosity, the weak ones. Over here, Park waved from across the arrival terminal. She was shorter than, with quick eyes that never stopped analyzing everything, served as the technical specialist for this mission. She made the computers work and kept the scanners running. He walked over and bumped fists with her friend. "How bad is it?" "The security is a joke," said. "Half the sensors are outdated. The other half are pointed in the wrong direction. I sent my report to, but he's more worried about tonight's reception." Was the diplomat in charge? He was a good man, but he cared too much about making friends with aliens who did not respect humans. Had seen it before. The galaxy looked at humans and saw soft skin, small teeth and weak bones. They did not see anything to fear. "When is this reception?" asked. 2 hours, wants us both there, full diplomatic dress, made a face. "I hate those clothes." Did too, but orders were orders. The reception hall was enormous. The ceiling stretched up 30 meters, covered in lights that mimicked stars. Hundreds of aliens filled the space, drinking and talking in dozens of languages. Translation implants converted the noise into something could understand, but it gave her a headache. She stood near, wearing the stiff diplomatic uniform that restricted her movement. Stood on his other side, holding a scanner disguised as a decorative bracelet. Old habits died hard. "That's the delegation," whispered, nodding toward a group of reptilian aliens near the center of the room. They were tall, perhaps 3 meters, with scales that looked like armor plating. Muscles bulged under their skin. Natural predators, natural warriors. "They run the arena," continued. "We need them to approve our security contract. Be polite." One of them noticed them looking. He was larger than the others, with scars crossing his face and arms. He walked toward them with heavy steps that made the floor vibrate. Other aliens moved out of his way. "The human delegation," they said. His voice sounded like gravel grinding together. "I am arena champion for 3 seasons." Bowed slightly. "An honor to meet you. I am representing Earth's diplomatic corps. This is Park and looked at them the way a person might look at insects. Interesting but ultimately insignificant. I have heard of humans, soft, no natural weapons, no armor, weak bones that break easily. We have other strengths, said carefully. Do you? His eyes narrowed. I have watched your species. You send diplomats and merchants. You avoid the arena. You talk of peace and cooperation. He leaned closer. You are prey pretending to be predators. Felt her jaw tighten. His hand touched her elbow, a silent warning to stay calm. Maintained his diplomatic smile, though could see the tension in his shoulders. We prefer negotiation to violence, said, but we are capable of defending ourselves when necessary. Laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Words, always words with your kind. He straightened up, looking around at the crowd. Other aliens were watching now, curious about the confrontation. Let me show you the difference between words and strength. It happened fast. His hand moved in a casual backhand strike that caught across the face. The diplomat flew backward, crashing into a serving table. Glasses shattered. Liquid splashed across the floor. Lay there, blood running from his nose, eyes unfocused. The room went quiet. Hundreds of eyes turned toward them. Felt her heart rate spike. Her hand automatically went to her hip, where a weapon should have been, but diplomatic receptions did not allow weapons. Her fingers found nothing. That is strength, said to the crowd. That is what happens when prey forgets its place. Stepped forward. She did not think about it. Her body just moved, placing herself between and was helping the diplomat to his feet, whispering urgently into her comm for medical assistance. You made your point, said quietly. Her voice was calm, but her muscles were coiled tight, ready to move. Walk away. Looked down at her. Up close, he was even more massive. His scales had a metallic sheen. His eyes were yellow with vertical pupils. Or what, little human, will you stop me? His hand came up and she realized had slipped her the scanner bracelet. Her fingers activated it automatically, running a biometric scan on. Data flooded her vision through her neural implant. Muscle density, 340% greater than human baseline. Bone structure, reinforced with natural ceramic compounds. Reaction time, 0.08 seconds. Estimated striking power, 4,200 newtons. The scanner classified him as lethal to unarmored humans in close combat. No surprises there. The arena said suddenly, tomorrow noon cycle, you will fight me there. No, said weakly. Blood still dripped from his chin. Not as a competitor, continued. As a demonstration. I will show the assembled species what happens when inferior biology meets superior warriors. You will have the honor of educating the galaxy about humanity's true place in the natural order. More aliens were gathering now. Some held recording devices. Others were making wagers, their voices creating a buzz of excitement. This was entertainment to them. This was sport. If refused, humanity would be marked as cowards. The diplomatic mission would fail. No one would take Earth seriously. They would be prey in the eyes of the galaxy forever. If she accepted, she would likely die. Or worse, be crippled in front of hundreds of witnesses, proving's point about human weakness. Pulled up the calculations on her scanner. The numbers were brutal. Probability of survival, 23%. Probability of victory, less than 1%. Probability of serious injury, 96%. Well, crossed his arms. Do humans have courage or only words? Looked at. The diplomat shook his head slightly, begging her not to do this. She looked at, whose face showed the odds they were both seeing. Then she looked back at and all the watching aliens. She thought about Earth. She thought about every human who had ever been underestimated, dismissed, or treated as weak. She thought about her training, her years in the Defense Force, every fight she had survived. Tomorrow, said, noon I accept. The room erupted in noise. Aliens chittered, roared, and hummed in excitement. Smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Excellent, he said. I will try to make your death quick. It is the kindness I show to brave prey. He turned and walked away, his delegation following. The crowd began to disperse, already discussing the upcoming spectacle. Stood there, her heart pounding, wondering what she had just agreed to. Grabbed her arm. Are you insane, the numbers? I know the numbers, said. Then you know you can't win. Looked at her friend. The numbers don't know everything. They don't know how stubborn humans can be. They don't know what we do when our backs are against the wall. She managed a small smile. Besides, we have until tomorrow to figure something out. I'm not backing down, not from him, not in front of the whole galaxy. Straightened up, wiping blood from his face. I'm sorry, he said. This is my fault. No, said. This was going to happen eventually. Humanity needed to show what we're made of. Tomorrow they'll find out. She just hoped she survived long enough to make it a lesson worth learning. Sat in her quarters, watching combat footage for the fourth time. The holographic display showed fighting in the arena, crushing opponents with terrifying efficiency. A crystalline warrior shattered under his staff. A multi-armed alien collapsed after 2 strikes. None of the fights lasted longer than 3 minutes. Notice the pattern? Asked. She sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by data pads and scanning equipment. He relies on power, said. Every strike is meant to end the fight immediately. No strategy beyond overwhelming force. Because it works, pointed out. When you're that strong, you don't need strategy. Leaned forward, replaying a section where fought a smaller, faster opponent. The alien dodged 4 strikes, then got caught by the 5th. 1 hit, fight over. But what if overwhelming force doesn't work? What if the opponent won't go down? Then you die slower, said bluntly. She pulled up a medical scan on her pad. Look at this. Physiology is built for short, violent confrontations. Massive fast-twitch muscle fibers, reinforced skeleton, natural armor plating. They're ambush predators scaled up to sentient size. What about endurance? Blinked what? Endurance, repeated. How long can fight at full intensity before his body gives out? His fingers flew across her pad, pulling up data. Her eyes widened. There's no record of any fight lasting longer than 5 minutes, ever. She looked up at. They've never needed to. Every fight ends quickly. Because no one has ever survived long enough to test their limits, said quietly. No one has ever made them tired. Understanding dawned on his face. You're not trying to match his strength. You're trying to outlast him. Humans are endurance hunters, said. We chased prey across continents until it collapsed from exhaustion. Our bodies are designed for long-term output, not explosive power. If I can survive the first few minutes, if I can make him work for every strike, his body will start breaking down, finished. She started pulling up more data, excitement replacing her earlier despair. Lactic acid buildup, muscle fatigue, cardiovascular strain. Have a 3-chambered heart that's efficient for burst activity but terrible for sustained effort. Can you get me a breakdown of his physiology? Asked. Weak points, nerve clusters, anything I can target. Already on it. His fingers were a blur. But even if you're right about endurance, you still have to survive long enough for it to matter. Every hit he lands could kill you. Then I don't get hit. For 5 minutes straight. Against someone twice your size with 3 times your strength. Stood and began stretching. Her muscles were tight from tension. I've done harder things. Name one. Survival training in the Australian outback. 7 days. No food, limited water, 45-degree heat. They were testing how long humans could function under extreme stress. Touched her toes, feeling her hamstrings pull. On day 5, I was hallucinating. Day 6, I could barely walk. Day 7, I completed the 50-kilometer final march. That's not the same as being hit by a 3-meter alien with a combat staff. No, admitted. But it taught me something important. The body has limits. The mind doesn't. When your body says stop, you can keep going. Humans are really good at that. Was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled up another screen. Arena regulations. I've been going through them. Did you know most species can't voluntarily control their stress response? What do you mean? Adrenaline, fight or flight. For most aliens, it's purely automatic. They can't trigger it on command. Looked excited now. But humans can: controlled breathing, mental focus, biofeedback training. We can spike our own adrenaline levels before a threat even appears. Nodded slowly. Combat breathing. We used it in the defense force. 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds out. It triggers the sympathetic nervous system. Right. And once you're flooded with adrenaline, your pain tolerance goes up, your strength increases, and your reaction time improves. Pulled up a chart. Not enough to match baseline, but enough to narrow the gap. Especially if he's getting tired and you're still running on stress hormones. So the plan is: survive the opening assault, make him work hard, outlast his endurance, and hope my body holds together long enough. When you say it like that, it sounds terrible. It is terrible, said. It's also the only chance I have. The door chimed, checked the monitor and opened it. Entered, his face swollen and bruised from strike. His nose had been reset, but his eyes were bloodshot. "You don't have to do this," he said immediately. "I've been talking to the station administrator. We can file a formal complaint. Violated diplomatic protocols." "And look weak," interrupted. "File complaints, hide behind regulations. Prove we're exactly what said we are, pray. Better alive and dismissed than dead and respected," said. "No," his voice was firm, "not better. I joined the Defense Force because I believed humanity deserved a place in this galaxy, not as servants, not as second-class citizens, as equals." She looked at the diplomat. "You can't negotiate equality, you have to take it, you have to make them see you." Sank into a chair, wincing at the movement. "I should have been stronger, I should have." "You're a diplomat," said gently. "Your job is to talk, my job is to fight. Let me do my job." After left, continued her preparation. She ran through combat scenarios in her mind, visualizing every possible attack pattern. She practiced her breathing until it became automatic. She reviewed the arena layout that had pulled from the station's public records. "I'm uploading combat telemetry to your neural implant," said around midnight. "Real-time threat assessment. It'll track movements and predict his attacks based on body positioning." "Will it help?" "Against someone that fast," shrugged. "Maybe you'll get a half-second warning instead of no warning. Better than nothing. Every advantage counts." Looked at her friend. "I calculated your odds again. With the new strategy, with the telemetry assist, with everything we've planned. 31% survival rate. Still less than 1 in 3. Better than 23%. "I know," sat down beside her friend. "I know what I'm walking into tomorrow. I know there's a good chance I don't walk out. But someone has to do this. Someone has to show the galaxy that humans don't fold when things get hard. Even if it kills you." "Especially if it kills me," said quietly. "Because then everyone will know. We fought until we couldn't anymore. We didn't surrender. We didn't break. She managed a smile. Besides, I don't plan on dying. I plan on making that arrogant lizard regret ever challenging me. Laughed despite herself. You're crazy. Probably. They sat in silence for a while, watching the combat footage replay, moved with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat, who had never been pushed to his limits, who had never faced someone too stubborn to quit. "Want to know something funny?" said eventually. "I ran an analysis on Earth predators. Lions, tigers, bears, all the big scary carnivores. They're all ambush hunters or pack hunters. They use overwhelming force or numbers." Okay. But humans, we're persistence hunters. We track prey for hours, days if necessary. We don't give up, we don't stop. We chase until the prey is too exhausted to run anymore. Looked at. Maybe was right. We are predators, just not the kind he understands. Stood and began wrapping her hands. Old ritual, old comfort. The fabric wound around her knuckles, across her palms, securing her wrists. She had done this hundreds of times before fights, before training, before every moment when she needed to remind herself what she was capable of. "Get some sleep," she told. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day." "What about you?" "I'll sleep when I'm tired." Finished the wrapping and started her stretches again. Her body needed to be ready. Her mind needed to be clear. Tomorrow in the arena there would be no room for doubt. Stood reluctantly. At the door she paused. "For what it's worth, I think you can do this. The numbers say no, but the numbers don't account for you being you." After left continued her preparation alone. She visualized the fight. She controlled her breathing. She felt her heart rate slow to a calm, steady rhythm. Tomorrow would try to prove that humans were weak. Tomorrow, the galaxy would watch to see if he was right. But tonight knew something didn't. Something the galaxy didn't understand yet. Humans had been underestimated before, by nature, by predators, by a hostile planet that tried to kill them in 1,000 different ways. And humans were still here. Tomorrow she would show them why. The arena was larger than expected. The combat floor stretched 30 meters across, covered in a dark material that absorbed impact. Seats rose in tiers around it, packed with aliens from dozens of species. The noise was overwhelming, even with her translation implant sorting the chaos into recognizable sounds. Stood in the preparation chamber checking her gear. She wore minimal armor, just standard human combat padding over vital areas. It would not stop strikes, but it might prevent immediate death from a glancing blow. Her hands were wrapped tightly. No weapons were allowed in the arena, just skill, just will. "Telemetry is live," his voice said through her earpiece. "I'm reading your vitals. Heart rate elevated but steady. Adrenaline levels rising. That's normal." "How's the crowd?" asked. "Packed. Every major species has representatives here. This isn't just entertainment anymore. This is politics. Everyone wants to see if humans can back up their claims." "No pressure then." "Right, no pressure." His voice softened. "You can still walk away." "No, I can't." The preparation chamber door opened. A four-armed alien wearing official arena colors gestured for to follow. She took a deep breath, using the combat breathing technique. 4 seconds in. Hold. 4 seconds out. Her body responded, flooding with hormones that sharpened her senses and dulled her fear. She walked into the arena. The roar of the crowd hit like a physical force. Thousands of eyes tracked her movement, some curious, some excited, some contemptuous. She was small compared to most of the warriors who fought here. Human-sized meant prey-sized to many species. Stood on the opposite side of the arena. He held his combat staff, a 2-meter length of reinforced alloy that doubled as both weapon and badge of rank. His scales caught the light, making him look even more armored than before. He was smiling, showing his teeth. The arena master, a floating being of pure energy, announced the combatants in a voice that bypassed ears and spoke directly to the mind. Of the 3-time arena champion, of Earth, unranked challenger. This combat will proceed until submission, incapacitation, or death. Combatants acknowledge the terms. Acknowledged, said. Nodded, acknowledged. Begin. Charged immediately. His massive legs ate up the distance between them in 3 strides. The staff came down in an overhead strike that would have crushed Skull. She threw herself sideways, rolling across the arena floor. The staff hit where she had been standing, and the impact cracked the supposedly indestructible surface. Warning, lethal force DETECTAD. The scanner in command booth flashed yellow. Her friend's voice was tight with fear in his ear. That strike registered at 5,000 newtons. You can't take a direct hit. Knew that. She was already moving, keeping distance between herself and the warrior pursued, his staff whipping through the air in precise, devastating arcs. Each strike was perfectly placed. Each one could kill. The telemetry in his implant tracked his movements, predicting his attacks a half-second before they landed. It was barely enough time to dodge. She ducked under a horizontal swing that would have decapitated her. She jumped back from a thrust that would have punctured her chest. The arena floor became a deadly dance, with leading and desperately trying not to die. The crowd's roar increased. They were seeing what they expected. The massive warrior dominating the small human. Entertainment. Confirmation that the natural order was being maintained. Then staff caught across the ribs. It was a glancing blow deflected partially by her dodge, but the impact sent pain screaming through her body. She heard something crack. Her vision blurred. Critical injury DETACTED, the scanner warned. 2 ribs fractured. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Kept moving. She could not stop. Stopping meant dying. The pain was sharp and constant, making it hard to breathe, but she pushed through it. 4 seconds in. Hold. 4 seconds out. Control the breathing. Control the pain. Pressed his advantage. He was faster now, sensing weakness. The staff became a blur of motion, dodged most of the strikes but more connected. Her shoulder took a hit that dislocated it with a wet pop. Her knee hyperextended from a low sweep. Each injury registered on scanner. Each one painted the picture more clearly. Was losing. The crowd knew it. The chatter changed from excitement to certainty. The human had shown courage, but courage was not enough. Biology was biology. Strength was strength. Critical injurisacumulating. The scanner flashed orange now. Multiple fractures, severe contusions. Subject should be unconscious. But was not unconscious. She was still moving, still dodging, still refusing to fall. Her body screamed at her to stop, to give up, to let the darkness take her. But her mind overruled every signal. Not yet. Not done yet. Paused. He was breathing heavily now, which surprised. The fight had only lasted 3 minutes, but he was already showing signs of exertion. Good. That meant the plan had a chance. Submit, human, said loudly, speaking to the crowd as much as to. Your courage is noted. There is no shame in acknowledging superior biology. You have fought well for your kind. It was a generous offer. It was a chance to survive. Any reasonable person would take it. Spat blood onto the arena floor. Her mouth had been cut somewhere during the fight. She did not remember when. She raised her fists again, her dislocated shoulder hanging wrong but still functional enough to guard. The crowd made surprised sounds. Many species did not understand what they were seeing. Prey did not behave this way. Prey knew when it was beaten. Only predators fought past the point of reason. His face darkened. His offer had been refused. His mercy had been rejected. So be it. He came at with renewed fury. The staff moved faster, harder, more precisely. He was no longer trying to force submission. He was trying to end this. Each strike was meant to break bones, rupture organs, stop the heart. His world narrowed to simple survival. Dodge, block, move. The telemetry predictions helped, but her body was failing. Her reactions were slower, her movements less precise. Another hit to her thigh, a strike across her back, a blow to her head that made her vision spark with stars. Your vitals are in the red. His voice was frantic. Your body is shutting down. You have to forfeit. But saw something the scanner could not measure, was slowing. Not much, not obviously, but his strikes were coming slightly slower. His breathing was labored. His scales glistened with moisture, the equivalent of sweat. 4 minutes into the fight, had lasted 4 minutes. One more minute and she would exceed every recorded combat duration. One more minute and would be in territory his species had never explored. Endurance. It always came down to endurance. Roared in frustration and swung his staff in a massive horizontal arc. This strike was different from the others. It carried the weight of rage behind it. It was meant to finish this disrespectful prey once and for all. The telemetry screamed a warning. His damaged body tried to respond, but too slow. The staff was coming too fast. She could not dodge this one. So she did not dodge. Stepped into the strike. Her hands came up, wrapping around the staff as it connected with her palms. The impact drove her back 3 meters, her feet sliding across the arena floor. The force shattered blood vessels in her hands. Her damaged ribs ground against each other, sending waves of agony through her chest. But the staff stopped. The arena went silent. Even the ambient noise of thousands of aliens breathing seemed to pause. They stared at the impossible sight before them. The human had caught the staff, bare-handed, mid-swing, against a champion. In his command booth, every scanner and monitor locked red. Warning klaxons screamed. Critical alert subject entering hysterical strength state, extreme danger to self and others. His muscle tissue was tearing. Her bones were developing, but her grip strength was reading at 187% of baseline. Adrenaline and desperation had unlocked something humans kept buried for emergencies. The body's final reserves. The absolute last resort. Looked up at. Blood ran down her arms from where the staff had split her palms. Her vision was tunneled from shock. Her body was destroying itself to maintain this grip. But she was smiling. "My turn," she said. The crowd erupted, not in cheers or boos, but in shocked recognition. They were witnessing something unprecedented, something that should not be possible. The predator-prey dynamic had just shifted, and no one knew what would happen next. I stared at his staff, trapped in the human's hands. He pulled, expecting it to tear free easily. It did not move. He pulled harder. The human's grip tightened. For the first time in his 3 championship seasons, felt something he had never experienced in the arena. A fear. The scanner stayed locked red. The warning continued to blare, but did not let go. She could not let go. Her hands had locked around the staff with a grip that bypassed conscious control. Her body had made a decision, and her mind was just along for the ride. The fight had changed. The rules had changed. Everything had changed. And the galaxy was watching. The moment stretched impossibly long. Hands remained locked around staff, blood running between her fingers. Her arms trembled with the strain, but she did not release. Could not release. Her body had entered a state beyond normal human limits, where pain became distant and strength came from reserves that should not exist. Pulled harder, his massive muscles bunching under his scales. The staff did not move. He yanked it sideways, trying to throw the human off balance. His feet slid across the arena floor, but her grip remained solid. In the command booth, watched the telemetry with horrified fascination. The readings made no sense. His muscle fibers were tearing at the microscopic level. Her hand bones were developing stress fractures. The pain signals flooding her brain should have caused unconsciousness. But humans had a trick, a biological override that activated in moments of extreme danger. The nervous system could shut down pain perception. Adrenaline could flood the bloodstream in quantities that turned ordinary people into temporary superhumans. The body could cannibalize its own future for power in the present. Was burning herself out from the inside. But for these few moments, she was stronger than she had any right to be. With the staff trapped, surged forward. She drove her knee into his midsection, not expecting to cause real damage through his armored scales, but creating space. Then she pivoted, using the locked staff as a fulcrum, and struck with her palm at his throat. The strike was precise. Had studied anatomy all night. She knew their respiratory system required constant airflow. The throat was protected by scales, but the impact did not need to break anything. It just needed to trigger a reflex. Gasped involuntarily. His body reacted before his mind could stop it, his throat muscles spasming. For 1 second, his grip on the staff loosened. Ripped it from his hands. The crowd roared. The sound was deafening, a wave of shock and excitement from thousands of beings who had never seen a warrior disarmed. Staggered back, his eyes wide with disbelief. His hands reached for the staff that was no longer there. Held the weapon for exactly 2 seconds. Then she threw it across the arena, sending it clattering against the far wall. No weapons for either of them now. Just bodies, just will. "What are you doing?" His voice cracked through the earpiece. "You had the advantage." But knew better. She could not wield the staff effectively, not with her damaged hands and broken ribs. The weapon would slow her down. This fight would not be won with tools. It would be won with endurance. Looked at his empty hands, then at the human. Something changed in his eyes. The contempt was gone. The casual superiority had vanished. Now there was only recognition. This prey was fighting back. This prey was dangerous. He roared and charged without his weapon, his claws extended. Natural weapons were formidable, thick talons designed for rending flesh. He slashed at its face. She ducked, felt the air whistle above her head, moved inside his guard, struck at his ribs. Her fist connected with armored scales. The impact sent pain lancing up her arm, but she saw his eyes widen slightly. He had felt that. Not much, but something. She struck again and again. Each punch was calculated, targeting the gaps between scales, the vulnerable joints, the nerve clusters that existed in all carbon-based life forms. She was not trying to knock him down. She was accumulating damage, death by 1,000 cuts. Backhanded her. The blow caught across the chest and sent her flying. She hit the arena floor hard, rolled, and came up moving. Her vision blurred from the impact, but she did not stop, could not stop. The fight became something brutal and primitive. No more technique, no more style, just two beings trying to break each other, struck with the power of his entire species behind each blow, dodged what she could and absorbed what she could not, trading injury for time. 5 minutes into the fight, his breathing was ragged now. His movements had lost their earlier precision. Lactic acid was building in his muscles, the byproduct of sustained exertion his body was not designed for. His three-chambered heart was working overtime, unable to supply enough oxygen to muscles that kept demanding more. Was bleeding from a dozen wounds. Her left eye was swelling shut. Her ribs ground against each other with every breath. But she was still moving, still advancing. Her body was running on fumes and determination, the last reserves of human stubbornness. The other humans in the crowd and the handful of Earth delegation members watched with silent intensity. They recognized what was happening. They had seen it before in history, in battles where humans should have lost but refused to quit, in survival situations where death seemed certain but people walked out anyway. This was what humans did. They endured past the breaking point. Swung a heavy overhand strike, slipped to the side slower than before, and the blow grazed her shoulder. She countered with an elbow to his ribs. The impact jarred her entire arm but grunted in pain, real pain. His armor was failing. His endurance was failing. 6 minutes. The fight had lasted 6 minutes. The crowd's noise had changed from excitement to something else. Uncertainty, confusion. This was not how arena combats worked. One fighter should be dominant, the other should be defeated. Clear hierarchy, natural order. But the human kept standing, kept moving, kept hitting back. His next attack was slower. His claws raked across his arm, drawing blood but lacking the force to tear deep. She stepped inside his reach and drove her fist into his throat again. The same spot, the same technique. His gasp was louder this time, more desperate. "He's fatting," whispered through the earpiece. "His thermal signature shows decreased muscle efficiency. His reaction time has dropped by 40%. He's getting tired." But so was. Her body was a collection of injuries held together by willpower. Each movement cost more than the last. Her muscles were screaming. Her bones were cracked. Her blood loss was approaching dangerous levels. The scanner in the booth showed both fighters' conditions. moderate fatigue, minor contusions, respiratory distress. Critical injuries, severe blood loss, multiple fractures, shock imminent. On paper should already be dead. On paper, she should have collapsed 5 minutes ago. But humans did not live on paper. Raised his arms for another strike. His movements were slow now, telegraphed. Could see it coming, could time her counter, but her body would not respond. Her legs buckled. She fell to one knee. The crowd inhaled collectively. This was it, the end, natural order restored. Stood over her, breathing hard, his chest heaving with the effort of staying upright. You have fought well, human, better than any prey I have faced. Submit now, please. There was respect in his voice, even kindness. He did not want to kill this brave creature. He wanted to honor it with mercy. Looked up at him through her one good eye. Her body was done. She had pushed it past every limit. Her muscles would not obey any more. Her vision was fading to gray at the edges. But her mind was still clear. Her will was still intact. Not yet, she whispered. She surged upward, using the last of her strength. Exhausted and surprised, was too slow to react. His shoulder drove into his midsection, and the tired warrior stumbled backward. They both fell, on top, using her weight to pin him. Her forearm pressed across his throat, not with enough force to choke, but enough to dominate, enough to control. Tried to push her off. His arms came up, but they were slow, so slow. His muscles were betraying him, cramping and failing after 7 minutes of sustained combat. He had never trained for this, never needed to. No fight lasted this long. But's body was trained for endurance. Her cardiovascular system was designed for marathon hunts. Her slow-twitch muscle fibers were built for sustained effort. Even damaged and bleeding, even running on nothing but adrenaline and spite, her body could outlast his. Yield, said. Her voice was barely audible, but in the suddenly quiet arena, everyone heard it. His eyes met hers. She saw the understanding there, the acceptance. He was the stronger fighter, the more dangerous warrior, but she was the better survivor. His hand came up and slapped the arena floor 3 times. The universal signal of submission. The arena erupted in noise. Beings from 100 species roared, clicked, hummed, and screamed their shock. The impossible had happened. The human had won. Rolled off and lay on her back, staring at the distant ceiling. Every part of her body hurt. She could feel her consciousness slipping away, the adrenaline finally fading, leaving only the damage behind. Medical teams incoming, his voice said. She sounded like she was crying. You did it, you actually did it. Tried to respond, but her body had finally shut down. The last thing she heard before darkness took her was the sound of the crowd, still roaring their disbelief. She had proven the point. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of. Now she just needed to survive long enough to appreciate it. Woke to white light and the smell of antiseptic. Her body felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. Pain was present but muted, filtered through medical drugs that kept the worst of it at bay. She tried to move and found her limbs unresponsive. "Don't," his voice said from somewhere to her right. "You're in full medical restraint. The doctors say you need at least 3 days of immobilization for the bone knitters to work." Turned her head slowly. Sat beside the medical bed, her eyes red from crying. The room was clearly in the station's medical wing, all clean surfaces and advanced alien equipment humming quietly. "Did I win?" His voice came out as a croak. Laughed, the sound wet with emotion. "Yes, you insane person, you won. Submitted. The whole galaxy watched you make him tap out." Memories flooded back. The arena, the fight. The moment when his hand hit the floor 3 times. How bad is it? How bad is what? Your injuries or the political situation? Start with me. Pulled up a medical display. The holographic image showed his body with areas highlighted in red and orange. 3 broken ribs, fractured radius in your left arm. Both hands have multiple stress fractures. Dislocated shoulder that was reset. Severe contusions across 40% of your body. Concussion. Significant blood loss. Torn ligaments in both hands. She paused. "The doctors say you should have been unconscious 5 minutes into the fight. They don't understand how you stayed awake." Stubbornness. Scientifically speaking, yes. Expression turned serious. "They also say you experienced what they're calling hysterical strength. It's when the human nervous system removes normal inhibitors and allows muscles to function at maximum capacity. Most species can't do that. It causes too much damage." "It did cause damage," said, feeling the ache in every part of her body. "Right, but you survived it. That's what's got the medical community buzzing. You voluntarily triggered a state that should have killed you or left you permanently disabled, and you're going to make a full recovery in 3 weeks." Leaned forward. They've never seen anything like human physiology. The redundant systems, the pain override, the ability to push past catastrophic damage. They're calling it extreme crisis response adaptation. A chime sounded at the door, checked her pad and nodded. "You have a visitor, you up for it?" "Who?" "See for yourself." The door opened and entered. The massive warrior had to duck through the doorway. He wore simple clothing, not his arena armor, and he carried something wrapped in cloth. His scales showed fresh scarring where strikes had managed to penetrate his natural armor. He approached the bed slowly, almost hesitantly. Then he placed the wrapped object on the side table and unwrapped it. His combat staff. The weapon he had carried for 3 championship seasons. "This is yours now," said. His voice was quiet, lacking its earlier arrogance. Among my people, when a warrior defeats another in single combat, they claim the loser's weapon. It is tradition. I didn't defeat you with that weapon, said. No, you defeated me with something far more dangerous. Eyes met hers. You defeated me with will, with endurance, with the refusal to accept defeat. He gestured at his own body. I am built for war. Natural armor, powerful muscles, instincts honed over of evolution. But I am built for short wars, quick victories. When you would not fall, when you kept standing despite injuries that would kill most beings, I began to understand. Understand what? That strength comes in many forms. Touched his throat where had struck him twice. I have fought 100 battles, but I have never fought a war. To me, battle is a moment, a clash, victory or defeat decided in minutes. He looked at with something like awe. But you humans, you do not fight battles. Every fight is a war to you. Total commitment, complete endurance. You will suffer, you will bleed, you will break yourselves, but you will not stop. He bowed, a deep gesture of respect that had never seen a perform. I am honored to have survived combat with you. After left, arrived with news. The diplomat's face still showed bruising, but he was smiling. The station council approved our security contract. No negotiation needed. They also fast-tracked Earth's application for full Galactic Council membership. Because I won a fight. Because you proved something they needed to see. Pulled up a data pad showing news feeds from across the galaxy. The footage of your fight has been viewed 3 billion times in the past 12 hours. Every major news network is analyzing it. Military strategists are studying it, are writing papers about it. Watched clips from the coverage. Commentators from a dozen species discussing human endurance. Scientists explaining the biological mechanisms. Philosophers debating the implications of a species that could voluntarily damage itself to achieve victory. One clip showed a crystalline being, apparently a military analyst, explaining, "What we witnessed was not superior technology or greater strength. We witnessed a demonstration of will backed by biological capacity. Humans possess what we might call weaponized determination. They can make their bodies perform beyond reasonable limits through sheer force of intention." Another clip featured the doctor who had treated. The subject displayed redundant pain regulation pathways, voluntary stress response triggering, and temporary strength enhancement through neurological inhibitor removal. These adaptations are not unique individually, but their combination in one species is unprecedented. Humans are, in effect, built to push themselves past the breaking point and survive the experience. They're calling it the doctrine, said. The principle that humans should never be evaluated solely on baseline capabilities. That we have crisis reserves that make us far more dangerous when threatened than our normal state would suggest. Great, muttered. I'm a doctrine now. But she understood the implications. Earth had needed this. Humanity had needed to prove they belonged in the galactic community, not as junior partners or protected clients, but as equals. The fight had accomplished that in a way no diplomacy could have. Over the next few days, more visitors came. Station administrators seeking contracts, scientists requesting interviews, warriors from other species asking about human combat techniques. Screened most of them, but a few got through. One was a young human, barely 20, wearing the uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. "I just wanted to say thank you," the young woman said. "I've been working on this station for 6 months. Before your fight, aliens barely acknowledged me. They treated me like I was invisible. Now they ask my opinion. They include me in meetings. You changed how they see all of us." That, more than anything, made feel like the pain had been worth it. 6 weeks after the fight, stood in the arena again. Her injuries had healed with the help of alien medical technology and human resilience. She had been hired as head of security for 9 Station, a position that came with authority and respect. Stood beside her, watching new fighters prepare for the weekly tournament. "You know that scanner still freaks me out," said. "I pulled the logs from your fight. It locked red the moment you caught staff and never unlocked. For 5 straight minutes, the system thought you were dying." "I was dying," said quietly, "just slower than was getting tired." "That's a terrible strategy." "It worked." They watched a match between 2 aliens, both powerful in their own ways but clearly fighting within safe limits. Neither pushed themselves to true extremes. Neither risked everything for victory. "You know what I realized," said. "Most species in the galaxy have natural advantages. Armor, claws, poison, size, speed. But those advantages come with a cost. They never needed to develop the kind of desperation tactics humans use. They never had to learn to fight past their limits because they had other tools." "And humans. We're soft, weak, no natural weapons. But we're also the species that looked at a hostile planet and decided to not just survive but dominate it. We chased prey for days until it died of exhaustion. We walked out of Africa and conquered every environment on Earth. We learned to push past pain, past reason, past everything that should stop us." Nodded slowly. "Evolution made us persistence predators. We might not be the strongest or the fastest, but we're the ones who don't quit." "That's the message, isn't it?" Looked at her friend. "That's what you proved in the arena. Humans don't quit. We can't. It's not in our biology." Down in the arena, one fighter submitted to another. Clean, professional, a normal fight by galactic standards. But across the galaxy, a new understanding was spreading. A new phrase entering common language in 100 tongues. When someone refused to give up despite impossible odds, when they kept fighting past all reason and logic, beings said they were pulling a human. Because humanity had sent a message to the stars, written in blood and broken bones and hysterical strength. A message that would echo through the galactic community for generations. Earth was not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the most naturally armed or armored. But they were the ones who caught the strike bare-handed, who made the scanner lock red, who fought until their bodies broke and then kept fighting anyway. They were the ones who did not quit. Ever. Looked out at the arena, at the crowd of alien species watching their entertainment and smiled. Let them watch. Let them remember. Let every species in the galaxy know what humans were capable of when pushed to the edge. Because the next time someone dismissed humanity as weak, as prey, as insignificant, they would remember the footage. They would remember the fight that lasted 7 minutes. They would remember the human who refused to fall. And they would think twice before testing whether that reputation was earned. Somewhere in the medical records, buried in research data, a doctor's final note remained. Subject displayed extreme endurance, pain tolerance, and crisis response capability. Conclusion: humans should be classified as endurance predators with voluntary stress override. Threat assessment: moderate under normal conditions, extreme when threatened, critical when protecting others or fighting for survival. Recommend caution in all confrontations with this species. It was a warning, a classification, a recognition of what humanity truly was. And across the galaxy, that warning was being heeded. Because the humans had proven their point. They were not prey. They were not weak. They were survivors who had turned survival into an art form, a weapon, a declaration of their right to exist among the stars. And they were just getting started.